It would eliminate constitutional protections of Americans' rights, specifically the right to privacy, among other things. It was a huge surveillance dragnet.
For the first 5 or 6 years, exclusively the only client of Palantir. This is Peter Thiel's brainchild.
People are outraged by it because, as they rightly pointed out, it would eliminate constitutional protections of Americans' rights, specifically the right to privacy, among other things. It was a huge surveillance dragnet, and its goal wasn't just to, surveil everything. It was to predict crime before it happens, predict terror attacks before it happens. I mean, it's like Minority Report was basically the end goal of it. And so after all the pushback, they changed the name to Terrorist Information Awareness and try and rebrand. Oh, it's not total. We are still going to surveil innocent Americans, but we're focusing on the terrorists. They did all this.
That's how they established warrantless wiretapping, expanded upon it during the Bush administration. They said, hey, we already used these unconstitutional violations to go after drug dealers. Why not terrorists? The same thing is true when it comes to the surveillance state. They justify it and rebrand it despite the fact that the policies still remain the same.
Stuff to try and rebrand it, but Congress defunded it. But hidden in that bill, Congress allowed aspects of it to continue. And essentially, I argue in my work on Palantir that an effort was made to privatize large aspects of TIA as Palantir. Because when Alex Karp and Peter Thiel were setting it up, they went to John Poindexter through this guy named Richard Pearl, who is a long-standing neocon actor with very extensive ties also to the state of Israel. He was caught in the 70s giving classified information to Israel's embassy and should have gone to jail and somehow did not.
Richard Pearl is one of the most vile neocons in existence. He wrote with another prominent neocon the memo that was used to justify a lot of the regime change operations that the U.S. and Israel endeavored to collaborate on. And that's called the Clean Break Memo, a new strategy for securing the realm. Richard Pearl is vile. He's never seen a war he didn't want to wage, and he was involved in surveillance too. What do you know?
And had a lot of ties also to Netanyahu's first government. And Richard Pearl is the guy that connected Thiel Karp to Poindexter, and they basically wanted to talk to Poindexter because they wanted to recreate total information awareness and saw him as the godfather of modern mass surveillance.
Yeah, they did, and actually In-Q-Tel, which is the CIA's kind of venture capitalist firm, it gave the seed money to Palantir in, I believe, 2002 or 2003. Its initial funding came from the CIA. So Palantir is actually the child of the CIA. The CIA was always intended to be its client, and it was, I think, for the first 5 or 6 years, exclusively the only client of Palantir. This is Peter Thiel's brainchild. Peter Thiel, gave some of the seed money, but a lot of it was provided by the CIA, by In-Q-Tel. And guess who's a child of Peter Thiel in the whole Palantir machine? J.D. Vance, the current vice president, is the understudy of Peter Thiel. He is primarily probably there because of his connections to Thiel, and what Thiel's doing on the Palantir side hopefully will come up in the future that J.D. Vance is going to have to answer for this. It hasn't been brought to the attention of the mainstream media very much, but dissident circles are talking about it.
And in doing so, they basically, Peter Thiel teams up with In-Q-Tel, the CIA's venture capital firm. Alex Karp has said on record that the intended clients of Palantir from the beginning was the CIA. And, the CIA was their first client for their first 6 years as a company. Yeah. Their top developers went to Langley, Virginia, which is CIA headquarters, every 2 weeks to show the CIA their product and have them tweak it to their liking. And during that period of time, one of the top people at the CIA that would have been involved in that is this guy named Alan Wade, who was also intimately involved with total information awareness. And if you look at how total information awareness was described, its privacy protections, it's exactly the same as the way Palantir sold their stuff later on. So there's an insane amount of overlap. And what's crazy here is that Alan Wade, a few years prior, had created a Homeland Security software program that was also pre-crime-esque and similar to what Palantir ended up doing. It was called Killiad, and he teamed up with Christine Maxwell to do that. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what this is a pre-crime program designed to suss out potential future crimes and deduce people based on something akin to like a social credit score that determines that. You know, that was Minority Report, and we all watched that in horror. You know, this is a dystopian future, but could that ever happen here? Well, they're building it here in front of us, it seems to be, and it's prominent people associated with J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, people that Trump himself has elevated. So the Palantir story is being so undercovered and overshadowed, and I'm glad someone like Whitney Web is covering it.
I wonder what the Whitney Web file in Palantir is like.
I'm sure it's long.
It's got to know.
They probably know I have a mold allergy and all sorts of stuff.
And that I'm visiting you, having a conversation.
Well, I mean, that's their job, right?
Well, it's funny. So let me.
But it's about pre-crime. It's about predicting stuff before it happens, and that's what I think a lot of people miss about Palantir, because a lot of people say about mass surveillance, you know, well, I have nothing to hide. You know, but it's not about if you're doing something wrong now or not. It's about an algorithm thinking if you will do something wrong in the future.